Hey guys, this is Chris Crazyhouse, and I wanted to sit back a little bit and reminisce and talk about all my memories of the great rap artist DMX. That's what I'm going to do in this video today, folks. So if you want to sit back, relax, and reminisce with me, please feel free. And the reason I'm doing this is because it was announced that DMX has passed away at 50 years old. And, I knew last week when they announced that he had had an overdose and that his brain was not responding. At first they had him hooked up to a ventilator, but then they said he was breathing on his own, but he was still brain dead. So I knew just from hearing that that's not good, because I've had family members go through the same thing, and I know once that brain goes, it's not a good situation. So I'm not going to speculate here on this video as to what might have actually caused his death, as far as if it was actually an overdose, a heart attack, stroke, or if it was due to taking the COVID-19 vaccine. I've heard some people say that, but I'm not going to get into that here. I might talk about that on my other channel. Right now, like I said, I just want to sit back and reminisce and think about the good memories that DMX brought to me with his art. So my first knowledge of DMX came with the LL Cool J song 4321. And for those who remember, this song featured several different rappers. It featured two established rappers in Redman and Method Man. And then it was introducing us to two new rappers, and that was DMX and Cannabis. And I know that song became more about, later on, the beef between Cannabis and LL Cool J, but DMX had a very good feature on there, and that was kind of my introduction to him. I was like, man, who's this guy? He just looked, and even in the scene that they had him in, his was the only one that wasn't cartoonish. Like, everyone else kind of came off as a little cartoonish with the way they were dressed, like Method Man and Redman, and even Cannabis had like the football gear or whatever. His scene, DMX's scene, came off very dark, almost like a dark criminal movie or something like that. And it's just him and the dogs there, and he had the Scully on and the vest. So that right there got my attention. Later, I started hearing more music from him. Like, I'm from the tri-state area in New Jersey, and I remember at the time I was working at the grocery store, and when I would go outside and collect carts, I would take my Walkman out there and I can get the actual radio stations. That's back when we used to listen to the radio to hear all the great underground hip hop. So they would play a lot of new stuff that wasn't really featured anywhere else, or that never had any actual videos for them. They would just play new music that was hot on the streets. And they had a song on there called Pull It. I remember they kept playing during the top 10, and it featured two new rappers, and the two new rappers at the time were Cameron and DMX. And it was just a great song. I still listen to it till this day. I love that song. Like I said, if you go look it up, it's called Pull It. Really cool beat, very fast paced, and Cameron and DMX did their thing on that. So that was kind of like my second introduction to DMX, and then finally I started hearing more of songs just from him. It wasn't just feature songs or like duets with other rappers. So the first song I heard of his was Get At Me Dog. And at the time, I didn't realize that this was kind of a diss track to K Solo. I found that out later, that he had some beef with K Solo while they were both locked up. So I didn't realize that was who he was saying to get at him. But once I found that out, I started listening more to DMX and his work. And, I didn't get his first album until I had already graduated from high school. And I told you guys before, like, I started college literally that summer that I graduated from high school. So in June was my high school graduation, and by July I had already started at the Art Institute. So, over that summer I was just trying to find new music, trying to get a taste of home, since I was so far away from home, living all the way in Florida. So getting DMX's first album was kind of my way of kind of keeping home with me keeping that New Jersey tri-state area with me and having that type of New York style music, because obviously it was a bit of a culture shock for me listening to the radio in Miami and South Florida. The music was completely different. But one of the artists that they did play and that was still popular even in the South was DMX, and I appreciated that. So I heard a lot of his songs, and sometimes they would even use some of his verses on other tracks for like certain Southern artists or even Caribbean artists as well. So I was sitting there, listening to his first album, and it's a monster. Obviously, everyone loves that first album. It was an instant classic. Starting just from the intro, everyone remembers the intro. That's my mans in them. These Rough Rider dudes. Who was that? Those my mans in them. Very classic intro, and then you got the Rough Riders anthem, which was a monster of a song during that year. I remember seeing the video with them all ride the bikes and the four-wheelers and everything. Just an amazing energy in that video. And you got to see what would become the rest of the Rough Rider family with Eve in the video, and as well as the Locks jumping ship from Bad Boy going over to Rough Riders. So you got to see a lot there in that video. You got to see a preview of what was to come. And DMX becoming one of the biggest artists of that era, the late 90s, early 2000s. There was probably no one bigger than DMX. I guess the only rapper you could say probably was at the top at the same time was maybe Jay-Z at the time, right? So as far as my favorite tracks on that first album, I would have to say it was Let Me Fly and the Damien song as well. I like that one where it's like him going back and forth with an actual demon named Damien. The snake, the rat, the cat, and the dog. I love that song. I love all the skits on this album too. The skits on here are hilarious. Like the one that plays before How It's Going Down is one of the funniest skits ever. I'm not going to repeat it here because of the content, but anyone who's heard it knows exactly what I'm talking about. Just the argument between this guy and his girl trying to figure out who she's messing with on the side, right? But like I said, that a great album. Another song on there that was good was Stop Being Greedy, and you kind of see DMX kind of going back and forth with his own voice, and I think they even made a video for it. I didn't really see the video that much. I just remember the song, because the song was hot on the radio, so I remember hearing it there. Stop Being Greedy, very good song. It had a very dark tone to it. I think that whole first album had a very dark tone to it, but a lot of people say that DMX was flirted with demon worship and all this other stuff. I think that was part of his mystique, but I don't think that was true. The man was very religious, overly religious and overly spiritual, so I never saw him as someone that courted demons. He talked about maybe fighting his demons. He had a lot of demons in himself, with dealing with a lot of personal pain from his own family and just his personal life, and he put that into his music. If I can say nothing else about DMX, even if you never consider him the greatest lyricist or your favorite lyricist, you felt every word that came out of this man's mouth, and that's one of the things I appreciated about DMX. Something that I will always appreciate about him is the spirit and the energy he put into his music. I felt that music. It still gives me hype today. If I listen to it right now, it would get me hype. I love it. Even if the rhyme scheme or whatever was simple, you felt every word of it. You believed every word of it. If DMX were to make a song talking about Martians are invading Earth, you would believe it just based on the tone of his voice, right? So going forward, he released 2 albums in that same year. I believe it was 1998. So the first one was It's Dark and Hell is Hot, and then there's Blood of My Blood. 2 super just crazy albums, both at the same time. I love both of them. Obviously the jewel of the second album was Slippin', and that song gives you a great idea of what DMX went through in his life. That's almost like an autobiography. Just an amazing song. I know a lot of people, they tear up when they hear that song, because maybe they've gone through the same thing or something similar, and they can feel it, right? Even before getting to some of his other later albums, what I liked about DMX, I liked every time he did a feature, anytime he ever appeared on a different song, whether it be Money, Power, and Respect with the Locks. He always had the great last verse on there. What was the other one? 24 Hours to Live, that Mace did. Yeah, it was Mace, the Locks, Black Rob, and DMX was had the last verse on that one too. Had a great verse about how he was gonna go out the last 24 hours. He's gonna blow up downtown New York. Great song. And like I said, he always had amazing features. He had another feature with Onyx, the Shut 'Em Down song. He didn't get the last verse on that one. I think they were right to put Sticky Fingers on the last verse of that one, but DMX had a very strong verse on that one too. So, you know, like I said, anytime he showed up, it was always a good feature. He always shined through, no matter where he was on. So even if you just had a little bit of DMX, he always added something to the song. It was never a bad thing. And even hearing some of his freestyles here and there, whether it be on the Funk Flex mixtape of that time or the DJ Clue mixtape of that time, DMX always shined on whatever song he was on. Like, he was one of those artists you could just put him there, and you knew you were always gonna get something special. It's rare that you get that. Some artists fall flat when they do a feature, but never DMX. If your song was already at 100, DMX would take your song up to 250 easily, just by him being on there, right? Few artists you can say that about. So the third album, I was like halfway through college, and I love that album. That album reminds me, every time I listen to it, I think about college. In fact, I think I got it right before I was going to visit home for the holidays or something like that, right? I got that album. His third album, of course, they had that song "What's My Name," which was a huge song. The song "What Do These B Words Want from an N Word," right? Another great song featuring Cisco that people still love and do the little challenge to see if the girls see if their name is on it, or guys see if their girl's name is mentioned in this song. You know what I'm talking about. But my favorite track on there actually is one that they never made a video for. It was never a single, but it's called Make Moves. Yep, that's the one. Make Moves. That song was one of my favorites. I just love that song. It's highly energetic, and it's one of my motivational songs. Like, I can listen to that when I'm working out or getting some work done early in the morning or getting some work done outside. That's one of my favorite motivational songs to listen to. And then later on, around that same time, DMX started doing more features in movies, from the movies like Belly, where he actually co-starred in, or films like, I like the martial arts movies that he did, the ones he did with Steven Seagal. I think it was Exit Wounds, and then later he was in the movie with Jet Li, Cradle to the Grave. Both excellent films. I enjoyed both of those a lot. Those were perfect around that time for us to all, me and my friends to all pile up in one car and go to the movies and watch that stuff. Had great songs on the soundtrack. X Gonna Give It To You is another one. That's another one of his songs that get you hyped. Some X-ish on the Rough Rider soundtrack. That was another great song by him that gets you hyped. So, like I said, DMX just had a lot of great energy in whatever song he did. And even songs that might there are songs that he's done that might sound corny or hokey if someone else did it. Like, if you think about the original Rough Riders anthem, just the way how simplistic that beat was and the way he's rhyming on it, that might seem ridiculous if anyone else did that. But the way he did it, it just came off hard and hardcore. The same with the other song, Who We Be. Like, literally by the end of the song, he's just literally saying da-da. But you like I said, you feel it. So it becomes a cool song just because of him. Like, I don't think anyone else could pull that off. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's one of those artists that no matter what he does, it doesn't come off as silly. He can just create something and it's just amazing, right? So, shout out to DMX's family, his children, his ex-wife, and to all the people around him that helped make him the artist that he was. People like Swiss Beats. Just want to say, I'm sorry for your loss. And we lost a great one as far as hip hop goes. Hip hop will definitely never be the same. I was just jamming to one of the newer tracks that he did not too long ago with the Locks about Ish, right? That's a great song. He did a great verse on there. And I thought like that was almost kind of like him making a comeback. I really didn't see this. I thought he was really getting his life together as far as that goes. But it's just sad to see. Going way too soon, dying at 50 years old that's definitely still young. And to see him go and not be here anymore, it's a shame. I mean, thankfully he left a great legacy of music that we can all listen to and appreciate. And I just want to say to DMX, I love you, brother. You are one of those artists who's part of some of the best memories in my life. I'll never forget it. And part of my formative years in my young adult days. Thank you very much for all that you put out there and the work that you put out there. I'm sorry that you had to deal with all the nonsense that you had to deal with in your life. I'm definitely sorry all the nonsense you had to deal with in that corrupt industry called the music industry. But just to let you know, you created timeless music and done great things that we will appreciate till the end of time. So thank you, DMX. We appreciate you. You guys let me know how you feel about DMX in the comments section. Anyway, Chris Crazyhouse signing out. Peace.